Hey everybody, this is Frilioth and welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to build this really easy Iron Golem farm that works in Minecraft 1.14.3. So as I mentioned, this is a really easy farm to build. You don't need any other blocks that you can find early game apart from a bit of lava, which you can find in caves or in the desert somewhere. There's bound to be some lava knocking about somewhere. We'll just dig a little bit. So this farm can be built really early on in game, and the beauty of this farm is it only uses 12 villagers. We've got 3 villagers in each pod, 3 in that one and a zombie to scare them. We've got 3 in this one with a zombie. Let's see if we can see them in there. So we've got 3 villagers in there, we've got a zombie. That's all you need for the pod. Now each 3 villagers will spawn or try to spawn a golem every 35 seconds. So let's see if we can run this down. Each pod then has got 3 villagers in it, and after 35 seconds of there being no golems on the spawning floor, each one of the pods will try to spawn a golem within a radius of 16 by 16 by, they say 6 on the wiki, but I think from testing it's more likely to be 10. Possibly even 12, 6 blocks below, 6 blocks above. But I'll talk a little bit more about the mechanics of that later. But each pod will try and spawn a golem every 35 seconds. If they're successful, and more times than not they are successful, they'll spawn a golem on the spawning pad. That'll go to the middle, it'll fall down. Now they won't try to stop, or they won't talk about spawning another golem until the golems in the farm have gone. They've got to fall outside of the detection range, which is why we have a drop of 20 blocks. So as soon as a golem falls out of here, they'll start chatting amongst themselves again in each individual pod, being scared to death by the zombie. And after 35 seconds, and it pretty much is exactly 35 seconds from the time that guy goes out of the farm, they'll try and spawn another village. Now you will find that they'll spawn in batches. They'll spawn either one or 2 or all 4 all at the same time. But if these guys in this pod here try to spawn a golem, and it's over here, these 2 won't try to spawn another golem because that golem is in range. So they think there's a golem in the village, they won't try and do it. However, these guys over here, that golem will be outside the range, so they'll still try to spawn a golem. Which is why sometimes you'll see a golem spawn over on one side of the farm, and then a few ticks later, a second or so later, there'll be another golem spawn over here. But they sort of get into a cycle. They'll sync together, and then they'll start spawning them, or they'll try to spawn them all at the same time. So expect to see 3 or 4 golems spawning in here every 35 seconds. So potentially the rates for this farm with only 12 villagers in it is 1,500 iron ingots per hour, which is absolutely insane for an iron golem farm that only has 12 villagers in it, which should be more than enough. I mean, this has been running overnight now. I set this up last night. This is first thing in the morning. And as you can see already, these chests have got loads of iron in there. And with more coming. Now, if you wanted this to run continuously, you need to build this in a spawn chunk. Okay, so it can be built in a spawn chunk. It doesn't have to be built in a spawn chunk, but if you build it at your base, when you get outside the render distance on the server or on your world, as with any chunk, it'll become unloaded and this will stop working. So if you want this to work continuously, as long as you're in the overworld, then you need to build it in a spawn chunk. This farm is also stackable. If you want to put one of these platforms 20 blocks above it, and it has to be 20 blocks in order for these guys to be, for the golems above to be outside the detection range of these guys. It's actually a little bit less than 20, but 20 is just an easy number to remember. So if you put another floor exactly the same as this with the pods 20 blocks above it, just here, this will spawn another up to 8 golems every minute. Okay, and then you can do it again. You can build another one 20 blocks above that. So ultimately, you can have them built all the way up to the build limit if you wanted to. The problem being getting villagers and zombies into the farm. Now it's relatively simple getting a couple of villagers up to here, because obviously the ground is only down there, not too far away. If you built this up at Y200, getting villagers from the ground up to the top is just going to be a pain. Okay, so bear that in mind. So anyway, I've talked about this enough, I guess. I think it's about time we started building this. So I'll put a list of everything you need on the screen now. Pause the video if you need to. And then we'll find an area to build this bad boy. Okay, so I found an area that I want to build it in. I want to build it in the desert. The reason for that is I don't have to worry about lightning. Being in the desert, there's no rain, there's no lightning, so I don't have to lightning proof it to stop the guys being hit by lightning and being turned into witches. You can build this in any biome. It's not biome specific, so you can build it in any biome you want. But take into account that if you build it high up in a snowy biome, the blocks of water, the source blocks of water around the farm will probably freeze. So you'll either need to light them up, or you'll need to put a roof over the top of it to stop them from freezing. Okay, but for this tutorial, I'm going to be building it in a desert, because then I don't have to worry about that. If I put my chunk borders on as well, you'll see that I've built it as near as damn it bang in the middle of the chunk. It's not going to be exactly in the middle, because obviously a chunk is an even number, so the center block can't be a single block. I think that's probably the center of it there, but I've picked one of the blocks and I'm going to call that the middle. So now we've found the middle of it, we need to stick down some hoppers. So let's just pop these out so I know where the middle is. Still pop these out, take out some hoppers, decide which way is going to be the front of your farm, although it's not really that important. This is like a 360 farm, but I'm just going to assume for argument's sake that this side is the front. So we want to pop out a hole in the ground that's 5 by 5. And then around the outside of this, we want to put down some chests. So you'll need to put down a double chest there, double chest there. And obviously, if you want to dig into the ground and build yourself an elaborate sorting and storage area, then great, crack on and do that. But I'm not going to do that. This is just a basic how to make a basic farm. So we're going to put chests around the bottom of the farm. So put chests around the bottom like that. And now you want to take out your hoppers, and you'll need a hopper pointing into each one of those chests. So jump into the center and then look at this chest here, crouch, put a hopper running into that, hopper running into that, then spin round through 90 degrees, hopper in there, hopper into that one, through 90 degrees, there and there, through 90 degrees, there, and then the one in the middle, have it pointing at the chest that's at the front. So if we say this is the front, we'll just have the hopper running into that, and that way all of the hoppers are now pointing into a different chest, so they should fill up reasonably uniformly. Now we want to dig out another hole, or another area around the chests, and we're going to stick in some stairs just to make it easier to access the chests. So that you want to stand on your chest, and you want to put a line of stairs running all the way around the outside. Like that. Now you want to grab your slabs, and you want to put some slabs on top of your hoppers. This is really to stop bad guys spawning in there. You don't have to do that, but if you don't, you are going to get zombies and creepers and all kinds of stuff spawning in there. And if your golem falls down and tries to whack a creeper that's in there, then all hell could break loose in there. So put some slabs down. In the past, I have used carpet on there, but I find that if you put carpet on there and your fire ticks are turned on, the lava sets fire to the carpet. Okay, so it's just easier putting down some slabs, and they're not hard to get now. So put down some slabs there. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now you want to whip out your glass, and you want to do a wall around the outside of the farm that's 2 blocks high using glass. Now you don't have to use glass if you don't really want to see him, but if you don't, it's going to make accessing these chests a little bit difficult. You can put upside down stairs on there, or stairs or whatever, but it just makes it a little more difficult. And who doesn't like looking in on golems turning into iron, eh? I ask you. Nobody, that's who. So put a wall around the outside of the killing area made out of glass like that. And then you want to jump up on top of that, and this is where we start building the tower that leads up to the platform. Now you want to stick in 2 layers of solid blocks. These don't have to be solid blocks. Again, these can be glass, but you're going to be putting lava on the inside of this. So if you don't mind seeing the lava, you can use glass. If you do mind seeing lava, then just use solid blocks. Now you need to take out some fence gates, and you need to put some fence gates in there. If you put a fence gate there, and there, and then crouch, look at the side of it, there, and then same again, there, and there, and then you can open them all. And now you want to grab your buckets of lava. We need 4 buckets of lava, and you need to put 1 in each corner. So 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now you need to take out your solid blocks again. You need to build a column up 16 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This is going to be your first spawning floor. If you're building multiple spawning floors, this is going to be your first spawning floor. So you need to do that on all 4 corners. If you want to fill this with glass, then put solid blocks on each 4 of the corners and fill the middle with glass. If you just want this to be solid blocks, then you can do that. It makes no difference. But you do need to make the column itself 16 blocks high. Okay? So I've got my corners in, and then if you just put some solid blocks over the top, like that. And that's where the golems are going to fall down. Now, you might be thinking, why don't you have just a 2-block gap? Golems are 2 by 2. So why don't you just have an area that is 2 by 2 for them to fall down? If you only had, or if there was only the possibility of 1 golem spawning in the farm, then you could get away with having a gap that is only 2 by 2. That big. But because there's a potential in this farm to have 4 golems spawning in here, if 2 golems meet in the center at the same time, they'll just keep banging against each other. They won't move, and it's going to break your farm, which is why we have a gap in there that is 3 wide. That way, even if all 4 golems converge on the center at the same time, they will all fall down the hole, and there'll be no blockage. So now we're just going to fill in the center of this column here with either glass or solid block, depending on your choice, really. So now you should have something that looks a little bit like that. Now we can work on the spawning floor, but before we do, just stick some temporary blocks inside there. It can be any block you like. I'm gonna fill this with dirt, so I know it can be removed later. But you just don't want to be falling down there by mistake. So grab yourself a dirt block, put that there, put a torch on the top of it. You don't want mobs spawning up here while you're up here on your own, do you? Like that. So now you've got that, you need to grab yourself your solid block again, the block that you're going to be making the floor out of, and you need to pillar out 8 blocks. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is where your water source block is going to go. Because water travels for 8 blocks, it'll come down here and it'll stop right on the edge. And you need to do that on all 4 sides. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now you've got that, you need to fill it all in. You need to fill all these in, so it's a big square. And as you're doing this, spam down a few torches as well, because these are all spawnable. They're all mob spawnable spaces. So if you're over here doing this corner and it's dark, something will spawn over there. And be careful of the dark as well because of phantoms. So make sure you've slept as well within the last couple of days or so. So I'm just going to finish off filling the entire floor, and then I'll be back in a minute. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now we need to put a wall of slabs around the outside. Now we use slabs because for a couple of reasons really. A, they're cheaper to use, and B, if you get a golem spawn right on the edge here, then it'll still get caught in the water and it'll get dragged to the middle. If you were to use a solid block around the edge, A, it would be spawnable for mobs, which is not good, and B, golems would be able to spawn on this block, and then it would break the farm because they wouldn't get taken into the middle. So that's why we use slabs around the outside. So just put a wall all the way around the outside of your farm. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now you want to just go to each one of your corners and you want to put a solid block just there, and then you want to build up the corner with slabs. So you want to put two slabs there and then a slab on either side. This is going to hold some water in the corners. We'll do the same on this corner, do the same on all four corners. 1, 2 slabs, 2 on either side. Solid block there. That solid block is going to be removed when we put the water in. Then 2 slabs and 1 on either side. Solid block, 2 slabs, 1 on either side. And we'll just stick a torch on top of there just for the time being, just to stop spawns. The more torches the better, really. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now we can start building the pods where the villagers and the zombie sits. So you want to get to one of the sides, doesn't matter which one, and you want to take out your solid blocks, and you need to build a 5x3 area for the villagers and the zombies to stand in. If you pop those 5 blocks out just for the time being, okay, so make sure you're in the center, and then you want to do 5 blocks, and you want to build this like an 8, a figure 8. So you want something that looks like that. Okay, now in the center bits, you want to put a bottom slab. Okay, so we're putting a bottom slab in there. That's just going to stop things from spawning inside with your villagers. Okay, it's just to stop. What you don't want is your 3 villagers in here and then a zombie spawning inside here with your villagers. That would be just a nightmare, wouldn't it? So stick down a couple of bottom slabs in there. That's going to stop that from happening. And then you build up this wall. Put another block in the middle. Now this is ready now to get your bad guys in there. Actually, just build it up one more. And then you can put a torch on there. Bit of light in there. You don't want him to be stood in the dark, do you? So that is now ready for your zombies and the like to go in. And now you just want to cover it with, or cover the outside wall with some top slab or some bottom slabs to stop things spawning on there, and put one in the middle like that. You might even, actually, it's probably a good idea to stick a temporary block in there. Now you need to choose which side you want your villagers in and which side you want your zombies in, because it needs to be the same in all 4 pods in order for the villagers to be an equal space apart. So if we say we're going to have zombies in the right hand one, villagers in the left, cover the left one over so zombie or whatever can't spawn in there or can't fall in there when we're trying to get zombies in the right hand side one. So now we've got that pod like that. We need to build one on each 4 of the sides. So whiz round to the side again, pop out those blocks. Like that. So now you should have something that looks like that. So now we've got that. We need to get the zombies in there. We need to get the zombies in there first, because if we put the villagers in the pods first, as soon as we put another zombie in there, we're going to get golems spawning on the platform. So if we get golems spawning on here while we're trying to move zombies around, then obviously that's a recipe for disaster. It's not going to work. So we really need to get the zombies in these pods first. Now there is no easy way to get zombies into those pods. It really isn't, and it's a video all by itself. I'm going to spawn them in because I can do, but for you guys, getting the zombies in there is going to be a mission. And I apologise for that, but there really isn't an easy way to do it. You could probably get some bubble column elevators down there to get them up to the top, or try unlighting these platforms and standing all the way over here. Maybe you'll get lucky, get one spawning and get them up at the top using some stairs. But it's really not going to be easy. I mean, if you want the iron, guys, you're just going to have to do it. So I'm going to spawn them in here. Now, bearing in mind, the sun's out, so these are going to start taking damage quite quickly. So you'll probably be best off doing this at night. Make sure you've slept because of phantoms. Actually, I'm going to make it night to stop me from dying. From the mobs from dying. So I'll make it dark. Get a zombie in the pod like that. Now you can see, actually, let's just pop that out and drop down in here. You can see that his eye line is going to be directly in the eye line of the villagers, and that's what we need. We want him to be out of reach, but still be able to scare the villagers half to death. So we've got him in there. If he's carrying something, if you don't have any name tags, if you can find a zombie that's carrying something, maybe we can get him to carry something. No, not all zombies can. But if he can carry something, then he won't despawn. Okay, so bear that in mind. If you don't have many name tags, try getting him to carry something first. If he can, he won't despawn. If he can't, you're going to have to name him. So whip out your anvil, grab yourself a name tag, call him whatever you like. We're going to call him Ted for no good reason. And then cover him over. So we've got a zombie in there, and you want to do that for all 4 of them. So again, get yourself a zombie in there. Throw something to him. If he picks it up, brilliant. You're not going to do that, are you? So we've got Ted 2. Zombie in there. Are you going to hold something? Let's see if we can get you to hold a feather. Nope. Okay. Ted 3. Wow. You boys don't like picking things up, do you? Never mind. Ted 4. So now we've got zombies in all 4 of these pods. And they're all in the right-hand side as well. And as I mentioned, that's important. They all need to be on the same side. So now we've done that, we can start thinking about getting villagers up here. Now, villagers is a little bit easier because they won't try to kill you. So to get villagers up here, you need 12 up here, but really you only need to get 2 up here to start with. If you've got a villager breeder somewhere, and villager breeding's changed in 1.14.3, but if you've got a villager breeder somewhere, you can just ship them straight in, which will be great. If you don't, find a village, get them. Let's make it daytime again. You need to find a village close by, get them over here in boats. All right, get a couple. You only need 2. Get 2 over here in a boat, and to get them up to the top, punch a hole there. Okay, it doesn't have to be that specific one. It can be there, it can be there, it can be there. But don't do it on the corner. Don't do it right on the edge, because you're going to be putting water in there. If you put water in there, it's going to flow outwards, and the water column is going to be too big. So make sure that you've got a hole that is completely surrounded by solid blocks. And then you want to get down to the bottom, directly underneath it, and dig another hole. So for that's going to stop the water from spreading out at the bottom. Then you can put a water source block in there. That's going to drop down to the bottom, and it's going to finish up down the bottom. Now you need to put a bit of a wall around the side of it. They like climbing, don't they? And this is just to stop the villager from running away when we've got him in the farm. In the area. So we've got that area now. You've got your villager in a boat. Now it's awkward but relatively straightforward to get a villager in a boat. So we've got a villager, he's going to run about, certainly during the day. To get him in a boat, just put a boat down next to him. Oh, come on, mate. And he'll usually jump in it. If he doesn't, you're just going to have to keep breaking it and fixing it again. And then you can get in as well. And you can whiz him round here until you've got him inside your little structure that's going to stop him from running away. Jump out. Block him in and then break the boat. And now you need to push him into this column of water. And we've put this, the blocks around the side because you really need him to be right inside. He needs to be right inside. If his head or anything is hanging out the side of this water column, he'll get stuck at the top and he's going to die. So when you push him in, make sure you get him right in. And then as long as your farm, your platform, is less than 30 or 40 blocks above the surface, he'll quite happily swim up a downward flowing column of water. Any higher than that, he's going to start taking suffocation damage. He's going to start drowning. Okay, so be careful. If you've got this up at 200 blocks, you'll need to put a water column, a bubble column elevator up there and get him up there using a bubble column elevator. So let's just assume that we've got him here in a boat again. Get him into the water column, right in. He's going to fly up to the top, join his buddy. And you need to just get them out of the water. That can then be filled in. Now we need to get these guys breeding. Now, villager breeding has changed in 1.14.3. Now you can't just hide beds. You do need a bed for these two guys because they need to have slept, and then you need a bed for every one of the baby villagers. So we're going to stick down. Let's stick down 12 beds to start with. So I've stuck down my 12 beds like that. And now we need to feed these guys loads and loads of carrots or potatoes or bread. But make sure they're not stood near the edge when you give them the food. Because if they are, they're just going to lob it straight over the side. So throw them as much food as you can get your hands on. Now, for some reason, and this may well change, but they only appear to pick up 4 stacks of food. Even though they've got 8 slots, they'll only pick up 4 stacks of food. I'm not quite sure why that is. And maybe it's just a snapshot thing. So these guys are going to breed now. And they're going to have little babies. And they'll have a little baby every 5 minutes or so. And it'll take these guys exactly 20 minutes to grow up. So now you've just got to leave these guys to, unless you've got, as I said, a villager breeder somewhere else and you can get 12 villagers in here straight away. You're now just going to have to leave these guys to their own devices until we've got 12 villagers in there. So we'll leave them to get on with it, and then I'll join you back here in a second. So it's taken a little while, but now we've got the 12 villagers in here that we need. So you want to quickly break the beds. We don't want these guys having any more babies. And now you need to get these into the pods. Make sure you push them in the right ones as well. You don't want to be pushing them in the ones with the zombies in it. So to get these in the pods, you need to grab yourself some steps. Now these are only temporary, so you don't really need they don't need to be nice ones if you don't want them to be. So stick down a couple of steps. Now you need to push these guys up the steps. Now during the day, this is going to be really difficult because they've got a cycle. During the day, they're either working or they're... Look at that. That guy's already up there. They're either working or they're socializing or they're just generally messing about. They might not want to go in there. He has, bless him. But it's going to be very difficult. The easiest way to do it is wait for it to get dark. So if we make it night, now if we wait for it to get dark, these guys will now, well, they'll try and find a bed. And because there are no beds anywhere around here, eventually they'll stop running about. They'll stop trying to find a bed and they won't do anything. There's no houses for them to go in. There are no beds for them to sleep in. So they'll just stand there, and that makes them really easy to move about. He's going to look at you because he doesn't know what you're doing. but you can push them about and push them where you want them to go. There's no quick way of doing this, really. You could try putting water elevators underneath each pod and pushing them in, but you're still going to have to push them about one way or the other. Now we've got that one in there. Within a couple of seconds, we should get a golem. There he is straight away. Okay, because they're terrified, they're being frightened, they're yelling at each other. Oh my god, we don't have a golem. We'll have a golem. Now, hopefully, that means now that we won't have any more golems. And that's one of the reasons why we had to get the as I mentioned, the zombies in there first. Because trying to move a zombie about, getting a zombie in there while we've got a golem is going to be almost impossible. So we've got golems in that. We've got villagers in that one. Don't whack them as well. If you whack them, that guy's not going to be very happy. For some reason, these guys like to sort of get as high as they can, get up into high places. It looks like all mobs like to be high up. So don't be surprised if he doesn't walk up the steps and try and push you off. So we'll get him in there. So I'm going to do this for the other 4 pods, because there's only so much villager pushing that I'm sure you guys want to look at. Because we've got a golem here as well, it's unlikely that these guys are going to spawn another golem. But they might, depending on where the golem is. If the golem's right the way over there, those guys in that pod may well spawn another golem. But if he does, if he spawns, he spawns. And you may be thinking that if one golem spawns for every 3 villagers in a pod, why don't you stick 30 villagers in the pod and get 10 golems spawning? It doesn't work like that. If you've got it, the villagers, or a villager needs to be scared, and there needs to be a minimum of 3 or 2 more villagers for him to talk to. Okay, so if there are more than 2 villagers for him to talk to, it's going to take a little bit longer for the golem to spawn, because he'll have more villagers to talk to, and B, it's just going to take you longer to get them in there. So it doesn't speed up the process by having more villagers in a pod. Okay, so 3 is the maximum really that you need. You don't need any more than 3. So we've got the last 3 in the pod, and as you can see, another golem spawned actually right over in the corner earlier on. But it's not a problem. So now we can break the stairs. If you'd have whacked any of those villagers, if you whack a villager, then he starts shouting, you could get a golem spawn. Okay, but that's not a very good Iron Golem farm to just go around whacking villagers. So now you've got something that looks like that. We can start adding the water. So grab yourself a bucket of water. You only need sort of a couple of buckets of water to make an infinite water source in the corners. Now, very, very important, do not put any water on that block there. Okay, that block, and I'm going to bang on about it, no doubt, far too much, but do not put any water on those blocks. If you put a water source on those blocks there, in any of the corners, you'll completely flood the platform. They'll all turn into water source blocks, and there'll be tears and everything. So do not put water source blocks there. You need to put some water source blocks there, and then you can miss one, put one there, miss one, put one there, and by now you've got an infinite supply of water. So now you can just keep refilling your water buckets. Okay, so now you've got an infinite supply of water. You want to put a water source on top of the block in the corner, and then you can break that block, and then you can do the same in this corner. Water on the top, and then break that block. Water on the top of it, break it, and then water on the top of that one, and then break it. Now, if you've got decent boots on, you can pop out the middle blocks, because then you won't worry about, if you've got decent depth striders on, you won't worry about falling down the middle. If you are worried about falling down the middle, leave those blocks in until right at the end. But when you're trying to break these blocks, if you whack the golem by mistake, he'll get pretty angry and he will probably kill you. Are you just going to walk straight down there, mate? Not quite. Okay, so be careful breaking the blocks if you've got golems on there, because it is easy to whack a golem by mistake, and if you do, he will go absolutely mental. So now we've done that, we just need to fill in the rest of these blocks now. Remember, do not put a block there, water there, okay? So on every other block, but not that one. Okay, so not that one, but every other block. So not that one, you know, not the second one, not the first or the second. You've got to leave. Do not put water source blocks on those blocks there. So put them on that one there. And I'm labouring the point because some of you will put a block in the corner and it will flood the floor, and then you'll be bleating that I've not told you. Well, I have told you. Do not put water there or there. Okay, start it on the third block. So now you should have something that looks a little bit like that. And now that's it. That's your farm done. So now you're going to start getting golems spawning every 35 seconds. Now it's going to be between 1 and 4. It's usually 2 or 3. Very rarely is it 1, and very rarely is it 4. Although it is possible. Now you might be thinking that why don't you just have a bigger spawning platform? The bigger spawning platform, the more chance they've got of spawning. That's true, but as I mentioned at the beginning, the cycle won't start again until these golems have left the farm. So if you've got a massive spawning floor out to here, by the time the golems have travelled all the way into the middle and all the way, especially if you've only got one spawning, gets all the way into here, it can take 20 seconds to get the golem out of the farm. So I've found that this is the most efficient way to do it with the 12 villagers. I've tried putting them in the corners. I've tried putting them above the farms a little bit. I've tried putting them below the farms. I've tried having a couple of spawning floors because, as I mentioned, the spawning area is 4 blocks below, 5 blocks below, and 5 blocks above. So I've tried having 2 spawning pads, but the golems seem to only spawn on the top floor. Okay, so there's no point in spending all of that time and the resources and everything else getting 2 spawning floors in there if they're never going to use the bottom floor. Okay, so you can experiment with that if you like, but I've done the work. This seems to me to be the most efficient way to use 12 villagers. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's how to build a really simple Iron Golem farm in 1.14.3. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave it a like, and if you've really loved it, don't forget to subscribe for future videos. And if you've got any questions about Iron Golem spawning in 1.14.3, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my very best to answer them. So thank you again, this is Frilioth, and I'm out of here.